Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, depending on which side of the country you're on. Not exactly. We've got people everywhere from the Pacific to the East Coast. Actually, we've even got some people in Hawaii. Um, but so today I wanted to touch in and I wanted to talk about, just kind of continuing the discussion we had last time. We were talking about how much each hour of freedom from your burnout job is worth, right? So, I said, hey, listen, let's say it's $1 an hour. Let's say it's minimum wage. Let's say it's $20 an hour, whatever. Right. But one thing I didn't touch on and I intentionally left for a later discussion was what if the cost to you is more than what you're getting paid? Well, logic would say that you should just quit and damn the consequences, right? And I'm gonna tell you that too. If you're in a job that's literally killing you, then you got to go find something else, right? There is no other option. It's unaffordable in the extreme. And the truth is, a lot of people don't do that. Actually, quitting a job is one of the hardest things that most people can do. The term I've coined for it is job paralysis, right? Where you're trapped in a toxic situation because you're paralyzed and unable to leave. And the question is, when you're in that situation, why does that happen? Why is it that people, especially if they even intellectually know that a job is killing them? And I've talked to people, they'll say, it's destroying my marriage, it's destroying my health. I don't know if I'm going to survive another 5 years. I may have a heart attack and die. They intellectually get this, but they stay anyways, right? They stay anyways. Because, they say, oh, well, I need to make the money. Well, if you're going to die in 5 years, then you're going to, it doesn't matter anyway, right? Like how much money you make between now and then. Like, what's the point of saving for retirement if you're just going to have a heart attack and die? And so the question is, though, what motivates people to stay? And the answer is emotion, right, of various kinds. So I wanted to dive into each one of the main emotions that keeps people bound to a burnout job, and also to show you guys how to overcome it so that you don't ever have to be trapped. So the first reason that people stay is fear, right? Plain and simple, fear. The human mind has a lot of issues when it comes to the unknown. It's evolutionarily hardwired into us, right? Because in the old days, the unknown very frequently could mean death, right? Nowadays, the unknown in our society and the developed world very, very, very rarely means death. But a lot of people treat, moving on from a job or moving on from a situation, from the status quo, as that level of threat. So people get into this pattern where they know intellectually that their job is costing them too much. They know it's costing them more than it's paying them, but they're still too paralyzed to act because they prefer the discomfort they know to the great unknown, right? And so the only way that you can really beat the fear is to create a plan. Say, hey, listen, if I quit, what do I do next? And then instead of this giant formless, thing, right, that could be anything, it could, be any range of consequences from the awesome to being homeless, right? You actually narrow it in, you create a plan, you narrow the window of possibility. And then that will decrease the fear because the unknowns wither away as you focus on them and as you plan around them, right? Now, the second reason that people hold on is shame. So a lot of people get their identity wrapped up in their job title. So for example, some people will say, well, if I'm not a lawyer, then what am I, right? I'm a lawyer, like it's who I am, right? And that's great if that's in line with your purpose. If it's not in line with your purpose, then you're just conning yourself, right? You're just fooling yourself, right? And so when people see quitting as a mark of personal failure, of, oh, well, I failed and I've put so much time and everything into this, then they don't want to leave, right? Because they see this as a mark of shame. But the truth is, if it's a sunk cost, it's a sunk cost, right? And the fact that you can't fit into some environment that other people have told you should do doesn't make you a bad person. It just means it's not a good fit. And you've got to have the courage to admit that, because sticking with a game that's broken is not going to make you happy. Sticking with the game that's broken is not going to let you succeed. You're just going to prolong your failure instead of moving on to a situation where you actually can succeed, right? So the solution is to realize that you are not your job. And that is especially so when it's a job that isn't a good fit, that you aren't meant to do. So the third reason people stay trapped is laziness. And I know that this can be a hard one to hear. I very much understand that nobody likes to be told that they're lazy, but let's take a real hard look at it. Quite often it's the truth. Finding a new job is a lot of hard work, especially if you haven't been through the job search process recently, right? Imagine you've been at a job for 10 years. You're going to have to update your resume. Now they've got these automated resume scanning things that most people don't understand. They don't understand how to format it. They haven't done a cover letter in forever. And they know it's going to be a lot of work to understand what to do, to go do it, all this kind of stuff. It's not easy, right? And if you're looking at, something like a freelancing career, that's even more work. If you're looking at starting your own business, well, hell, that's even more work, right? And so all of these things are a lot of work. And deep down, people know that. They know that it's going to be a lot of work to make a change. And the thing is, though, is that they let that intimidate them, right? They know that they need to leave, but, they also know it's a lot of work. And there's a part of them that just doesn't want to go do it, right? And so if you know that intellectually, you know that you've got to get out and you're having trouble summoning up that motivation, right, then the way out here is to remind yourself of everything that burnout is costing you, everything that it will cost you, and to visualize and focus on the life that you're going to be able to create when you're free. And if you do that every single day, then you'll get the motivation and you'll be able to overcome laziness. So the fourth reason that I've seen people stay stuck is greed. There are far too many people who get carried away by the obsession for a bigger house or a newer car or bank account, whatever it is, right? They cannot conceive of life without their stuff, without their number, without the whatever it is that they're chasing, right? This infinite quest to acquire more things, more, better, and different, to be, have a bigger house or a nicer car or more vacations than Johnny next door, keeping up with the Smiths or the Joneses or whatever that phrase is. And, people can get trapped into a job that may literally be killing them, right, in order to pay off the debt that they accumulated to go get such things. I spoke to somebody a month or two, maybe 2 months ago, and she was working a job. She was making $150,000 a year. Her husband was making more than that. And she said, well, we can barely pay the bills because we've got the mortgage and the car and the this and the that and the this and that. And she acknowledged that her job was literally putting her health at risk. But she said, oh, well, we can barely pay the bills because they'd gone out, they bought all this stuff, they'd taken on all this debt because they have to live this, really expensive lifestyle, right, at any cost. And the problem is that if you're not around to enjoy it, then none of that stuff matters, right? If you're stuck in a miserable job to pay for stuff, then you don't own the stuff. The stuff owns you. So that's the fourth reason. Now, the fifth reason that people will stay in a burnout job, and this is perhaps the most insidious trap of all, is hope. People sit there and they hope that things will get better. And sometimes it's because they want to avoid looking at the first four reasons that we talked about. Listen, a lot of people, they don't want to believe it. They don't want to deal with that. So they say, okay, well, I'll hope it gets better. They don't have any evidence for it, but they hope, right? But the other way it can happen is employers can come and they can make promises. And I've certainly been in this situation. There are a lot of employers who will come and they will say, hey, listen, this is going to get better. They're going to promise X. They're going to promise Y. You're going to get that promotion. You're going to get that raise. We're going to lower your hours, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes they do. And a lot of times they don't, right? And so if you're in this situation, it's very easy to delude yourself into thinking that things are going to get better, either because you've received some promise or because you just want it to get better. But if you're deluding yourself, then you're just signing up for more pain, right? So I talk to people every single week who feel betrayed because their boss convinced them to stay by making promises that were never kept. And, here's the thing. To some extent, shame on that boss, right? But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if you're in that position and you've been fooled, don't let yourself get fooled again, right? Don't go and say, hey, listen, he said it before and, it didn't happen, but maybe this time it'll be different. No, right? You can only ride that roller coaster so far, right? So if things aren't working out for you right now, that's a red flag in and of itself, right? And it requires some real serious objective thinking about whether there's truly light at the end of the tunnel, And if promises have been made that weren't kept, don't keep signing up for more promises that aren't going to be kept, right? That's at that point you become complicit in your own false hope. So guys, those are the 5 reasons, right? Those are the things that I've seen that are really keeping people trapped. Obviously they're all emotional, and I've given you in each case, what you need to do, what realizations you need to come to, the new way of thinking about each of these, so that you guys have the freedom to make the best decision for you and your career, to look at what are the next steps on your career path and determine what's really going to serve you, what's going to serve your families, and what's going to serve your own happiness. Right? So if you're in that position and maybe you're coming to the realization that, hey, listen, these things have kept you trapped. These things have held you back. And you're at the point where you go, oh, well, now it's time to make a change, and you don't know where to go and you don't know where to start, then I am here to help, right? I do have a link, www.oculusinstitute.com/scheduling. So if you guys want to talk about it, if you guys are saying, hey, I do need to make a change, you realize, hey, listen, maybe you've been chasing, maybe you've been afraid, right? Maybe deep down, you've been lazy, and you say, hey, it's time for me to get my act together. It's time for me to step up, and I can't do this any longer. Maybe you realize you've been sold a bill of false goods on the hope thing. I don't know. But as you confront each of these 5 reasons in turn, and you see that it's keeping you trapped, and you see that it's time to make a change, and you want to do something about that, right? And you don't know where to turn. You don't know, because in many cases, a lot of you guys haven't done this for a while, or maybe you've done it and you've just kept ending up in the same situation over and over and over again, and you want to break that pattern. So if you guys want to take a new step and go in a new direction on your career path, then this is the number you want to, this is the link you want to go to, right? Schedule a call with me and we will get it sorted out. And I look forward to helping you guys, and I look forward to talking to you later this week. Bye. Have a good one.